When replacing and installing a new compressor on your vehicle, it's important to note what type of system you are working with. That way you can make sure you get the correct related components to do the job right the first time so that you get longevity out of your new compressor. And one of the more important things to note is what type of system you have, whether it's a TXV system or an orifice tube system. And we'll show you the difference between these in a few images so you can understand what the difference is, as well as what the related components that go to them are, so that, again, once you do the job, it's done right, you have a good, clean, flush system, and your compressor is going to get a long life out of it. If you're working with a orifice tube system or a CCOT, cycling clutch orifice tube system, it's a system that's going to consist of a compressor, the condenser, an orifice tube, which is the metered restriction, the evaporator, and an accumulator. And in this system, the orifice tube is the system's metered restriction. It is simply a tube with a screen and a pinhole that acts as a fixed restriction to the refrigerant flow itself. And now this restriction creates the low and the high sides of the system. If your system, however, uses a TXV system or a thermostatic expansion valve system, the operation of the system is basically the same as the orifice tube, with the exception of a few differences. The TXV systems will allow for variable refrigerant metering into the evaporator based on the heat load or the temperature of the evaporator itself. And a TXV system uses a receiver dryer placed between the condenser and the metered restriction. A TXV system does not include an accumulator. So unlike the orifice tube system, rather than having the accumulator, you're going to have the receiver dryer instead. And the way that the TXV works is the expansion valve is attached to the evaporator inlet, and it has a sensing bulb filled with refrigerant gas. As the evaporator outlet warms and cools, the gas trapped in the sensing bulb expands and contracts. This acts on a diaphragm attached to a metering valve inside the expansion valve to control the flow of refrigerant. And now that you know the difference between the two systems, just keep in mind, when we're doing a new compressor, we want to make sure we always replace the condenser. We flush the lines out or replace them if they need to be replaced. We try to flush the evaporator out or replace that if it needs to be replaced. And if we have a TXV system, we replace the TXV or the orifice tube if it's an orifice tube system. And then we make sure we do the receiver dryer on TXV systems and the accumulator on the orifice tube systems. Doing all of this ensures that when we start the vehicle up for the first time and engage the compressor for the first time, the entire system is cleared, no debris is going to work its way through, and this compressor is going to last a long time regardless of which system we have that we're working with.